The habit of saving is itself an education. It fosters every virtue, teaches self-denial, cultivates the sense of order, trains to forethought, and so broadens the mind. T.T. Munger. Welcome to today's episode of the Afrocentrist podcast. Today's episode is supported by Mixi Audiobook Limited, also known as Mixi Fun Books. They are an African audiobook company positioned to help African authors successfully launch their audiobooks. They have a vision to preserve the African heritage by helping African authors leave a digital footprint in the audiobook space. They bring fun into books, and they have redefined fun to be friendly, unique, and native. You can check them out on www.mixifunbooks.com and on Instagram at mixifunbooks. Mixi is spelled M-I-X-S-I-E. Mixi Fun Books. Friendly, unique, and native. Yes, welcome to this episode of the Afrocentrist podcast. My name is Ejiro Osakade, and I am so delighted to be here again this week. How are you doing? This month of October, we are covering the subject matter of personal finance. And so we're taking it one after the other. Last week we talked about budgeting. This week we're talking about savings. Next week we would be covering debt. So don't miss it, okay? Save the date, save the time. And just remember that the Afrocentrist podcast is going to come to you 4 p.m. GMT plus 4 on Friday. So as we begin this episode, I'd like to introduce you to my guest today. Her name is Aniekan Odonkwak. She's Nigerian, but she's based in the UAE. She's a chartered accountant by profession and a personal finance enthusiast, a serial entrepreneur with a budding interest in agri-business. You can't have bad money habits around her, and I can personally testify to this. How are you, Aniekan?
I am good. So good to be here.
I mean, you're even more excited than I am. Thank you so much. In fact, I'm feeding off your energy right now. Thank you for being here. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Hi, everyone. Good evening. So good to be here with you guys.
All right, so Annie, we're talking about savings today. Everybody, I want to assume, I know assumption is not good, but I want to feel like it is common knowledge, right? That savings is important to everybody.
Yep.
But why is it though? Because maybe for most people or for some people, it's just the fact that that idea has been passed on from, maybe their parents but what is it like? What is real? Why is it important for us to have a saving habit?
Yeah, so we'll start with what is savings. Yeah, savings is basically just putting something aside. It could be money, it could be some material stuff, it could be whatever.
Okay.
Just putting something aside. But then, in as much as you're putting something aside, if the purpose for it is not known, you will end up abusing it. Like, it's a quote.
Purpose is not defined.
It's a quote, like, if purpose is unknown, abuse is inevitable. Yeah? So the idea behind a proper savings habit is for you to know the purpose for it now. So we discussed budget last week. You have a budget. You probably have targets. You have a travel goal. You have a goal to build a house, to buy a car, all of that. So when you have a goal like that, the best way towards attaining that goal is to have a savings towards it. So have a savings plan towards it. So the idea behind savings is not just putting money aside.
Just for putting money aside sake.
No. The main concept behind a savings is that you're planning towards something. If something could be, by the end of this year, I want to have a 7-figure account balance. And probably that translates into Forex investment. Or at the end of this year, I want to be able to have enough to buy a new house or buy a car or fund my tuition. Whatever it is, the idea behind the savings is that there should be a goal attached to it.
So if I hear you clearly now, and I also compare it with what my guest last week was saying about budgeting and now savings, is one common factor is a goal.
Yeah.
Like you have to define the goal. Why are you budgeting?
Yeah.
So when you know why you're budgeting, is also tied to the reason why you have to save to be able to, go by that budgeting that you've put together.
Yeah.
Right. Fantastic. Thank you for explaining that. All right. I know that it is easier said than done. Like, I need to save. I want to save. I have to save, but I'm not saving. Personally, for you, what are some of the hacks that you have used or applied as an accountant, as person in the finance industry, that you have used to now build a saving habit that you think you can share with our listeners?
I usually use the term baby steps. At first, you would say, I want to be able to save 5,000 every month. Just taking out the 5,000 naira, dirham, dollar, whatever it is, just picking out the exact amount of money every month. It at the surface would look like a huge task.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
Okay.
But then you could start with saying, okay, in order to save 5,000 this month, I will cut down on eating out. I will cut down on luxury spending. So instead of buying new clothes, not necessarily buying new clothes now. If on an average I spend say 2,000 dirhams a month on shopping, I could cut it down to say 1,000 or 500, and I know that I am saving 1,000 or 500. Yeah, I'm saving that portion of money and not spending the entire sum. Or I could say, okay, for the next 2 weeks I won't eat out. I'll do more home cooked meal. Like, it starts with deliberate steps. So it's not really all about the money when you're just starting the savings habits now. If you are unable to discipline yourself and cut off some excesses because you have a goal, you have a target you're aiming towards, then actually taking out the cash itself would be hard, difficult. So it takes cultivating that habit of saying, I have 1 month to go. I would rather do shopping for 1 month than do shopping every week.
Every day, okay.
I'd save from bulk purchases, or I'd rather say, okay, for this month I have this budget. I have a budget of 1,000 dirham for shopping, clothing, shoes, jewelry, whatever. Once I reach that limit, no more for the month. Or I have 500 for turn-ups. Once you turn up, once I finish the turn up at 500, that's it.
No more turning up.
No more turning up. So, like, when you get yourself into that mood that you're able to discipline your spending habit, then savings becomes an easier task. So that way you would even see the extra money in your account, and you're like, oh, I actually have idle 5,000 there. Okay, I'll take it out and keep it somewhere as a savings. So you would see the outcome from your account balances. You would probably no longer run into a credit or a debit. You would not overspend or overshoot your spending.
So basically what I hear you say is, for you to be able to cultivate a savings habit, you need to discipline yourself.
Yes.
And then don't start with just saying the money. Start with the habits.
Yes.
Which is, first of all, cutting down on excesses.
Yeah.
Look at the places that what can I do without this thing? If I can do without this thing, can I just reduce what I spend on it? Yeah. That could include like your calls, your data, what you spend on, just cutting down on them, hanging shopping. Out.
How many things do you shop for do you actually need? Or is it because they put it there, sales, and then you're like, oh my god, that guitar is on a sale. How frequently would you play the guitar as compared to eating food? Do you really need that guitar because it's on a sale, or you just want to have it?
Because I think, don't you think that sales, having places, going to places where there are sales, it's actually a huge joy.
So it's like,
it stops you from so I totally agree with you that you need to cultivate the discipline first. and then it makes it easier because it now makes you take baby steps. So as you cut down on your excesses, it's easier for you to take out the excesses and to then save it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. So how do you draw the line? The last question before we round this off. How do you draw the line between savings, cultivating this habit of savings, and actually being stingy? Because you want to say, oh, I'm saving, and then there's somebody dying beside you like, oh, no, I've saved this money, I'm not giving it out.
No, I think that would be more from a place of love. Like, if you put yourself in the person's shoe, like empathy now. If on a normal day, you wouldn't want to be in such a position, like, you know someone is in a position to help you, and is actually not helping you, would you rather do the same thing to another person? So the thin line between savings and stinginess will probably be I will define it as love. Like that love, like the genuine kindness you show to your fellow man. Like, you love your neighbor literally as you love yourself. So like, if it will probably not come overnight, because I also had that issue for myself. It's something I'm still growing. I'm working on and all. But the idea is showing genuine kindness to people. So it's not all about keeping for yourself. Because really, at the end of the day, you're leaving the world empty. None of the things you're keeping, you will take with you. Like, you won't take any of it with you.
You know, I read a book recently, or one of the books I was working on, you know, to convert into audio. And one of the things they mentioned that I think gives a perspective to this question I asked is, like, if you have a budget, like, basically, like you said, budget for giving, budget for charity.
Yeah.
So when you budget for charity, it's easier. So you already put a cap on it. Yeah. You do the charity up onto what you have budgeted for it.
Exactly.
So if any other person comes after that budget is expended, there's nothing you can do. It's not because you are stingy now. It's just because you set your budget in place. Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you so much, guys. I really hope that you've enjoyed this session today. So thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. Until I come your way again next week, remember, we're talking about debts. You don't want to miss that edition, because we're going to be talking about how to manage your debt. Now to the current affairs segment. On Friday, October 2nd, Madagascar launched COVID Organics capsule with an inauguration ceremony by local pharmaceutical company Pharma Galaxy. The capsules are reported to contain extracts of local Malagasy plant Artemisia with proven anti-malaria properties and other indigenous herbs. And there is a claim that COVID Organics is a cure for coronavirus. You can read more about this on www.africannews.com. All right, guys, that will be all on today's episode of the Afrocentrist podcast. Are you an African business or brand, and would you like to support an episode of this podcast? Kindly send us an email to theafrocentrist@gmail.com. Again, theafrocentrist@gmail.com. Do follow us on our social media handles, and please share this episode with friends and family. Do have a fantastic weekend. Bye-bye.